Hello and welcome back to my channel. This is Justin Cappuccino of Sashes&Scripts, and today we will be talking about pageant gowns. It is national pageant season once again, and karamihan ng mga pageant girls na kilala natin is now preparing for their respective turn at the nationals. And within that sphere of preparation, isa sa mga pinaghahandaan nila is yung kanilang pageant competition wardrobe. Specifically today, what we will be talking about is pageant gowns and what are the trends na nakikita natin na kinakailangan ng ihinto at yung mga trends na kinakailangan nating ipasok sa planning ng mga gowns for the nationals this year. And before we begin, please subscribe to my channel, hit the like button, share our videos to your friends, and hit the notifications bell for more pageant related updates. Okay, so over the past several years, nakita natin that there are three types of gowns na naging oversaturated na when it comes to pageants. And those are silver and gold gowns, nude or illusion tulle gowns with lots and lots of beading, and gowns with, very high slits. I think those three types of gowns and the combination of those three have been in pageants since 2015, where Ariana Gutierrez wore, this champagne gold-ish fully beaded na gown, when Catriona had that very high slit for her Miss Universe gown in 2018. And a lot of these permutations of these gowns have been repeated over the years. In fact, in Miss Universe just this December, we saw that the gowns of the top, five all be in the silver and gold color. Only one of them actually had a different color, which is mint. And I think that speaks of the oversaturation na of these kinds of pageant gowns. I think one of the reasons why naging masyadong popular yung mga gowns na ito is because they saw it work, and therefore inulit-ulit na lang siya as a formulaic type of gown for pageant girls na to use to when they're competing. And I think that's a big disservice for designers, creativity, because there's a lot of things that you can do when it comes to dressing up pageant girls. Now, there are two or rather three things that I'd want to focus on for today's video, and the types of embellishments, the types of gowns that I would actually want to look at or see at the nationals this year. First of that is the abundance of color. I think that a lot of pageant girls stuck to the very safe na color palette of gold and silver na mga gowns, and not a lot of girls have tried to break out from that mold and risk it with highly saturated colors. And I think with the trends, with designers like Schiaparelli and Valentino, who are experimenting with really bold combinations of colors like fuchsia pink with very citrusy oranges, with high saturation, high impact color. I think those are the things that we need to see in pageants this coming nationals, especially in Miss Universe Philippines, Binibining Pilipinas, and in Miss World Philippines. So I think that kinakailangan ipasok natin ulit yung kulay in terms of pageant competitions, because color is one of the things that is would visually make you stand out in a lineup of girls wearing the same type of gowns. So imagine if you are like a Catriona Gray with the top five only wearing silver and gold gowns, and you're the only one who's wearing red, then you will definitely stand out among the five. And I think that is something that we need to consider, especially for pageant girls when they're planning their evening gowns, because color is one of the first thing that we tend to look at when we see something. So I think that designers and the pageant girls should think about using color effectively in their planning of their evening gowns for this year. The next trend that I want to talk about is the goddess dressing, and this is one of the things that we've seen in a lot of Hollywood stars, and a lot of brands try to do in this season, in the spring-summer 2022 season. And I think this is a throwback to the goddess dressings of ancient Greece, where we have statues like the ones behind my back with drapes and swags of clothes, and this is reminiscent of the toga of the Greco-Roman Empire. And I think that this is one of those trends na hindi nawawala, but not necessarily it is mined to its mind creatively. I think that there's a lot of things na pwede natin gawin pa with drapes and swags na hindi natin masyado nakikita on the pageant scene nowadays. I think that having this trend pop out, especially with Zendaya when she wore that Balmain leather drape gown, that was something that I think signaled that we needed to add something into the repertoire of pageant gowns na kinakailangan natin medyo mag-break out na doon sa nakasanayan natin na gold, silver, slits, and nude illusion gowns. I'm not saying that hindi na natin dapat patusin yung mga beadworks and the bling that we've seen in these types of gowns, but it's probably high time that we look at other types of embellishment, types of execution when it comes to the evening gowns that's worn in pageants. And I think that goddess dressing, something like what Minorca Mercado have worn in the 1994 Miss Universe pageant still works up until this day. And I think with these trends of swags, with swathes of draped cloth in the female body, it would really heighten up the figure of the wearer and make use of the woman's natural shapes, natural curves in highlighting her assets. So I think this is one of the trends na kinakailangan na pag-isipan ng mga designers and their wards for pageants this year. I think there is something that can be done to make it new and fresh in the eyes of the pageant audience. And I think using very in the now materials like liquid gold, satin, or crystal encrusted na mga laces in creating those swags. There's something that pwede natin gawin pa when it comes to this kind of trend. Okay, third on the list of fashion trends na pwede natin ipasok sa pageant gowns is the trend for movement. Now, when I say movement, there are three typical things that comes into mind. The first one is fringe, the second one is pleats, and the third one is feathers. Now, pag-usapan muna natin yung fringe and yung feathers. Feathers have a very interesting way of moving that it looks very alta, it looks very high-end when you add ostrich or peacock feathers or for the gowns that you're wearing. I think that this trend is very haute couture. The techniques that you can look up are techniques from videos on YouTube by Dior, where they really use feathers in such a very interesting way by dyeing them, by creating ombre effects on feathers so that it moves differently when it is being worn. And I think feathers are something that we're already familiar with, because this is something that we've seen Gazini Ganados in some of her looks for Miss Universe in 2019. Her entire wardrobe is built on the idea of flight of the phoenix, and we've seen her gown with bird motifs, her outfits with feathers and feather embellishments. So I think that this is something na pwede natin pang i-tweak or pwede pa nating gamitin in new and different executions para magmukha siyang bago. I think that in 2017, yung gown ni Rachel Peters at the finals of the Miss Universe pageant, she wore a silver gown with ostrich or caribou feathers, and I think that's something that we can look at as a reference point. If designers would want to really explore this trend, they can look up at how Dior and Valentino have done feathers in their last 2-3 years na mga haute couture collections. And then also I would want to include in the movement na trend is the use of fringe. last year, I think it was Steffi Rosa Story who used fringe very dramatically in her Miss Universe Philippines competition with a ombre effect on the feathers, on the tassels of the fringe rather, which made a very interesting play on movement on stage. I think this is one of those, one of those trends that pwede natin gamitin in order for us to, to have a variety in terms of looks for the national pageant season. Kasi itong trend of movement na ito, it is something that I see na unti-unting magiging popular in the next several pageant seasons, whether it's national or international. I think that breaking away from the traditional na mold of sparkling gowns would really set a candidate visually. It will make her stand out a little bit more compared to the other dresses that is only using the same type of embellishment over and over. In a sea of gowns where you have various uses of crystals and beads and sequins, definitely yung movement ng fringe would kite everyone's attention. And I think that is something that we can really explore for this coming national pageant season. And then, of course, hindi rin mawawala sa repertoire ng movement yung pleats. We've seen this in 2021 with Stefania Soto and her acid green, absinthe green na pleated na gown, which really captivated us during the Miss Universe preliminaries. And we've also seen this this trend worn by Nadia Ferreira with her pleated lime green or mint green na finals gown in Miss Universe last December. And the good thing about pleats is that it moves very fluidly depending on your presentation, and that is why we've seen these two girls twirl the hell out of it, and they've used pleats in order to create very impactful na turns and poses, which is reminiscent of Taliana Vargas in 2008. I think that yung paggamit ng pleats is not something new to Filipinos, because Janine Togonan have already used that, but with Stefania and Nadia, they've used that in fuller and bigger effect. And so I think that pageant girls, if you want to look more trendy, look a bit more in fashion, and look a bit more that you're in the couture side of of pageant gowns, then definitely pleats is something that you can ask your designers to do for you. Again, movement is a very strong trend that I see in pageant gowns that is incoming. So I think that owning that trend is something that pageant girls can think about for this national pageant season. So that's all that I wanted to say about pageants and pageant gowns for this season. I think that yung mga trends na nabanggit ko, these are things that you can always look up for fresh ideas. And as a reminder, I am repeating again the use of color, the use of movement in your gowns, and thinking about goddess dressing for this coming national pageant season. That's it from me, guys, and I hope to see you in our next episode. See you again, and take care, everyone. Bye.